Hello. That is from Saudi Arabia, the hot desert. The invaders came from Persia, that is Persian Gulf, then Pakistan coast, that is today's Karachi, and from there basically they came towards Sindh and the invasion took place. So for the first time this was a new route which was taken as a part of invasion. And this Arab invasion when it came, so just before that means just a century before, Islam had taken a birth as one of the new religious diversity of the world. And the whole Middle East where we will find the birth of Islam. So the main reason was that before the birth of Islam, all the communities which used to live there, they were tribals, just like Aryans. Okay? And then basically, being tribal beliefs used to be followed. Tribal society is always egalitarian. Okay? Gender equality is higher as far as the tribal society is concerned. Caste or class issues are very less or a minimum as far as the tribal society is concerned. And same features were offered by Islam when it was born. And obviously, it became attractive for all the so-called tribal communities of Saudi Arabia or a hot desert. And more or less, they started adopting Islam. And once the Islam was adopted at a social level as well as the cultural level, then its repercussion, that which we can say the kind of representation was going to be witnessed at political level. It has been tribes, all the communities which were there in Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, more and less just like we saw Rigvedic period. That Rigvedic period, Aryans were tribes, Jana was a tribe. So political features are egalitarian. And they were at a local or we can say at max a regional level. Same was the case before the birth of Islam. But again, as we saw, once Aryans came to the settled life, permanent agriculture, later Vedic period starts, and instead of Jana, Janapad becomes important. Same is going to happen here. Before Islam, being tribal society, political features were also local and regional, and they were tribal features. Okay? Now once Islam came, then a centralized feature came as a part of united tribes as far as the whole of tribes of Saudi Arabia and Middle East were concerned. And they were brought in a united fold by Islam, the single religion offering egalitarian features. Even though Islam is more or less known to the common people as the one which doesn't basically give a gender equality. This is a current feature that Islam seems to be tremendously patriarchal. Okay? Islam seems to be, you can say, anti-woman. So that is a current feature and a misuse of a religion by the so-called custodians of religion. This applies to every religion. Every religion has good features. The so-called custodians of religions, and not everyone among them, some of the few custodians of a religion, self-proclaimed custodians of religion, they misuse the religion and they bring a bad repute and a bad name to the religion. So this was the case. So because of that, gender equality was excellent in Islam. If you just read the real Quran, you will find how the gender equality is there. There is no hijab, there is no triple talaq, and there is no barriers and the kind of, you can say, restrictions that the females are facing as well as Islam is concerned. Okay? So that was actually Islam. And that's why it became attractive, and under the fold of Islam, the political features started emerging. And the society and the communities which were not known to have empire for the first time in the history of Middle East, an empire will now emerge. And that empire is known as Umayyad Empire. Okay? And this Umayyad Empire, their head would be known as Khalifa. Okay? And now Khalifa, his name was Al-Wajid. Okay? He was like a first Khalifa. And now it was decided, once you are into power, and obviously it was the Islamic Empire. Okay? In whole of ancient India we saw religion and politics were never mixed up. Okay? Each and every kingdom or empire had their own religious beliefs, but still they were not imposed upon anyone, and state did not use religion as an instrument. That is what we had seen about ancient India. Same was going upon in medieval India also, in case of these Gurjar, Pratihar and others. Okay? Cholas, Bilal, jo bhi ho. But here we will see the empire which came, Umayyad Empire. It was properly an Islamic empire. Islam was a state religion now, and that's why there was a clear-cut objective. One objective was that we have to go for invasions so that we can get resources. Why? Because our empire has come, but we are living in a geographically and climatically adverse area. And for maintaining the empire, for running the administration, for running the army, you require, and hot desert cannot offer you this kind of finance. If you go north of this hot desert, you have the cold desert of Central Asia. Desert cold or hot, there is no resource. Okay? तो आपको फिर कहाँ घूमना पड़ेगा? ईस्ट की तरफ घूमना पड़ेगा. ईस्ट में दो जगह आप लूट कर सकते हो. Where? एक तो है बिग बॉस, चाइना. ठीक? But China always had a political, we can say centralized politics, just like today also China is like a centralized power. And obviously China also had gone for Great Wall of China. Okay? So always China used to see. In fact, whatever invasions we see in India, they would come to India later. First, all the invaders used to go to China. This Central Asia से China नजदीक है. Every invader they used to go first to China, and due to Great Wall of China, they used to get repulse. Okay? And Chinese monarchy always they maintain their centralized control, just like the way China goes today. उनका DNA अलग है. And that's why it was very difficult to defeat the Chinese monarchy. Later on also we will see in modern India, the British will establish empire in India. But they did not establish an empire in China. Why? Because Chinese monarchy was very strong. Here we had a Mughals, they declined. In China there was a Manchu dynasty. वहाँ पे भी एम है, यहाँ पे भी एम है. हमारा एम डिक्लाइन हो गया था. In there basically Manchu dynasty was still powerful till 1911. And that's why British did not go for establishing empire. They will loot China because ultimately due to industrial revolution and technologically British were advanced. They looted like China like anything. But China was just colonized economically. India was colonized by British both politically as well as economically. That is the difference. Okay? And that history affects us. Still China goes ahead and we remain behind. And definitely democracy has also hampered to a certain extent the case of India, despite having all the obvious advantages of democracy. Okay? So there is a different kind of a debate that we can go for. But as of now, what is the case? All the invaders, they first used to go to China, then if they are failed there, they will come to India. So same happened here also. That in Central Asia, they cannot go. In China, basically Great Wall of China and the powerful dynasty, it acted as a barrier. So ultimately, you had an easy way. India is there. Okay? And Chinese monarchy, as we saw, just after the death of Ashoka, China built Great Wall of China. Okay? In 212 BC, Great Wall of China has been built just after Ashoka. And Ashoka, as we saw, he was one of the most powerful rulers of the time. He had everything. And it is said Ashoka built 84,000 stupas. We don't know whether he built or not. We saw some of them. But if he had built single Great Wall of China like structure along the northwest of India, we would not have witnessed the invasions. And that's why Ashoka, despite being great, he is always blamed for decline of Mauryan Empire also, and he is also blamed for, we can say, lack of defense upon India. If he had gone for Ashoka was one of the only one who could have easily gone for having Great Wall of India, as far as northwest of India was concerned. But he could not. And then definitely we saw the invasions in future also. So this is the case. So because of that, now invasion was going to come. India was obviously a soft target. And obviously, if they are invading India, just randomly they are not invading. Whoever is coming, I am talking about. Don't go into their religion. Whoever is coming, they are not randomly invading. Now also strategically they got the idea about political instability of India. How they came to know that there is a political instability in India? There was no modern communication. But Arab merchants had settled in India before Islam, as we saw in Chalukyan kingdom. So due to trade and commerce, the Arab merchants, they used to give information. What is the state of a political stability in India? How powerful a particular kingdom or empire is there? And when they got the idea, the so-called Umayyad Empire, that there is a political instability due to from Arab merchants, they decided to go for invasion. Okay, and they decided to go for, we can say, a new route, the route which was suitable to them. Everyone goes for their own strength. हर कोई अपने strength के हिसाब से खेलता है. Being in hot desert, they were adept in camel warfare. Just like Bimbisar started elephant warfare, Arabs basically they brought camel warfare. Okay? And if we were going to get defeated now, क्योंकि हमारे पास कैमल वॉरफेयर का जवाब नहीं था, पहली बार दुनिया में कैमल वॉरफेयर आ रहा था, and Indians faced the camel warfare. And Raja Dahir, he was a Rajput ruler now who was ruling in current Pakistan. At that time there was no Islam, so Jains, Hindu and Buddhist, they used to rule. Raja Dahir, basically his dynasty was known as Brahmin Shai dynasty. He was a Brahmin. There is concept of Brahma Kshatriya Rajput. Those who are Brahmins by birth, but who adopted Kshatriya functions by their karma, that is called Brahma Kshatriya. Like Peshwa Bajirao, he was born as a Brahmin, but he fought as a warrior. That is called Brahma Kshatriya. So Raja Dahir was basically a ruler of a Brahmin Shai dynasty, and when this invasion occurred, Raja Dahir was 40 or 42 years of age, and at least 4 times he was warned that new people are going to invade this area. They are having certain new religious belief which is unknown as of now. 4 times intelligence was given. But हम Indians है, ठीक है ना, थोड़ा सा होता ही है अपना, आराम करना है, देख लेंगे यार, आने दो, क्या करेगा, this was the attitude. So 4 times he was basically won, but he took it lightly and he paid the price. So when actually battle occurred, as far as this invasion was concerned, so 17-year teenage boy was leading this invasion. Arab invasion was led by 17-year-old. 12th standard में अगर होता आज होता तो 12th standard में होता वो, ठीक? 17-year-old teenage sensation Muhammad bin Qasim, he led this invasion, and not only he fought with Raja Dahir, who was 40 or 42 years of age. It was not just about the age, but experience also. But Qasim killed Dahir in a well-contested battle. Okay? As far as Arab invasion of Sindh is concerned, this point we have to keep in mind. Now, who was this Muhammad bin Qasim? So this first Khalifa of Umayyad Empire, Al-Wajid. So every empire is divided into provinces, districts, and so on, as we know. So this Umayyad Empire, which was there in the Middle East, including Iraq, plus North Africa and Egypt. So it was divided into different provinces. So today's Iraq was a province, and capital was Baghdad, just like today. So province has a governor, correct? So Al-Hajjaj was a governor of Iraq under Khalifa Al-Wajid. Al-Hajjaj was a governor of, we can say, Iraq under Khalifa Al-Wajid. Muhammad bin Qasim was a nephew of Al-Hajjaj. इतना बस एग्जाम के लिए ध्यान में रखना है, ठीक? ब्लड रिलेशन का कौन सा क्या क्वेश्चन आ सकता है? Who was Muhammad bin Qasim? The one who led the Arab invasion, and he was the nephew of Al-Hajjaj. And who was Al-Hajjaj? Al-Hajjaj was a governor of Iraq under Umayyad Empire, led by Khalifa Al-Wajid. बस 2 लाइन्स में रिवीजन खत्म, ठीक? And as I mentioned, even though Qasim defeated and killed Raja Dahir, still Arabs could not establish empire. Why? Because as we saw, future Indian rulers and warriors, they defended India. Okay? But the point is that, again the question which can come, Muhammad bin Qasim is the first individual in India, okay, to impose jizya. Because jizya is a tax, and taxation के ऊपर UPSC question पूछती है. Jizya is an Islamic tax, one of the 4 taxes sanctioned by Quran. Jizya, zakat, okay? Then khams, and then kharaj, the 4 taxes. These are the only 4 taxes any Islamic ruler can impose. Jizya is a tax which is imposed by an Islamic ruler, or jizya is a tax which is imposed in an Islamic state upon non-Muslims. It is not a tax on Hindus. It is a tax upon every non-Muslim which is imposed. Okay? Why? Because you have 2 options. As I mentioned, The main objective for this invasion was that there was no resource, and that's why they basically invaded India for resource. There was economic reason. Okay, and the second reason is that being an Islamic empire, you are bound. Any king or a so-called Khalifa is bound to spread Islam. Okay, पर्सनली एज ए खलीफा आपको पसंद है या ना पसंद है उससे मतलब नहीं है, आपको इस्लाम स्प्रेड करना पड़ेगा. कहाँ पे? जहाँ जहाँ पे इस्लाम नहीं है, जहाँ जहाँ पे किसी कोई एस्टेब्लिश रिलीजन है तो वहाँ पे भी इस्लाम को फैलाना पड़ेगा. तो स्प्रेड ऑफ इस्लाम वाज अ सेकेंडरी रीजन. प्राइमरी रीजन वाज इकोनॉमिक और फाइनेंशियल. यूपीएससी कैन आस्क यू लाइक दैट. Primary reason was not a spread of religion. Spread of religion was definitely there, but it was like a secondary reason that we have to keep in mind. And since you are spreading your own religion in a new areas which you are going to conquer, you have to impose jizya. Upon whom? Upon those people who are following their original religious beliefs. So you will give them two options. In one hand, sword will be there, and second would be that you can convert to Islam. Okay? If you don't want to convert to Islam, either you have to face sword or you should pay a tax. Simple. तो जाहिर सी बात है कौन जान गंवाना चाहेगा? हर साल एक बार टैक्स पे करना सही है. So jizya was we can say yearly tax. UPSC can ask, jizya was a monthly tax imposed upon non-Muslims. No. Jizya was an annual tax or yearly tax imposed upon all non-Muslims. It is not a Hindu specific tax. First of all, you should keep in mind. So that is the case. And in lieu of that tax, उस tax के बदले में all non-Muslims will be given protection. And it becomes the responsibility of the Khalifa कि किसी non-Muslim की जान जानी नहीं चाहिए. जो तलवार जान ले भी सकती है, उसी तलवार से आपको all non-Muslims have to be protected because they have paid a tax. And since you pay a tax as a non-Muslim, you are called protected, यानी जिम्मी. तो ये जिम्मी भी टर्म पूछा जाएगा क्योंकि टर्म बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस आर इंपॉर्टेंट मेडिकल. जिम्मी means the one who is protected for paying jizya. Okay, that is the case. It was due to Arab invasion and due to Arabs, Aryabhatta, Varahamihir and Brahmagupta's scientific achievements reached the Europe. It was due to Arab invasion, Aryabhatta, Brahmagupta and Varahamihir's scientific achievements. And in fact, all science and technological achievements of ancient India, as we saw, they reached the Europe. Ayurveda, the ancient science of medicine of India, it basically reached the Europe through Arabs. And that's why Unani system of medicine developed. That's why the Unani system of medicine developed. And even in Islam, there is a Hakimi system. Physician is called Hakim. Okay? In Islam. So there is a Hakimi system of medicine. It also got developed in Arabia due to Ayurveda. So these were like a cultural impacts that we have to keep in mind. Now the Paschim Samudra name will be changed to Arabian Sea. That means Arabi Samundar. Okay? Sea would be the term which will be brought by British. So Arabi Samundar will be the term that the new term which will come as a part of Western Seas concept. Okay? ऋग्वेदिक पीरियड से जो पश्चिम समुद्र टर्म था निकल गया अभी. Because now for next 800 years Arabs were going to maintain trade and commerce of India. Whatever power may be there in India, it would be dependent upon trade and commerce upon whom? Arabs. Okay? So this whole Western Sea now came to be known as Arabian Sea or Arabi Samundar, because Samundar is a term which is there in Arabic and Persian. Now the age of Sanskrit was gone or it was about to end. Now all terms will be like Arabic and Persian now, okay? Till the advent of Europeans. This point we have to focus upon. So cultural impact was there as far as the Arab invasion was concerned. Okay? And then as I mentioned, since Arab invasion failed, Qasim, when he went back, he was also assassinated back in Iraq for the reasons which are different. There is no need to discuss for that. And then you will see for next 250 years, India would not be witnessing invasion. In that 250 years, we had a Pala, Rashtrakuta, Gurjar, Pratyaharaj. Once they were gone, raids of Mahmud Ghazni will start, or invasions of Mahmud Ghazni will start. Mahmud Ghazni came from cold desert, Central Asia. Reason is same. Desert hot or cold, for resource, India है ही, अतिथि देवो भव. आइए, लूटिए हमें. ठीक? Because we are weak. You are free to loot. That is the case. So first लिखिए Arab invasion. Okay. First subheading would be background. Background would be sub first heading under Arab invasion. Okay. First point. Before the birth of Islam in Saudi Arabia and Middle East, before the birth of Islam in Saudi Arabia and Middle East, socio-cultural life, socio-cultural political life was based upon tribal identities. Was based upon tribal identities. Okay? Next. Just like Rigvedic Aryans, semi-nomadic life, and dependence upon pastoralism, animal husbandry, etc. was witnessed. Dependence upon the pastoralism, animal husbandry, etc. was witnessed. ठीक है, इसलिए फूड पैटर्न में देखिए, चिकन से ज़्यादा मटन क्यों खाते हैं? क्योंकि sheep and goats that are easily available as a part of, we can say, pastoralism, and that's why basically they will go like to go for, we can say, the mutton more than chicken. Fish is more or less like a least preferred one as far as the diet is concerned. So religious beliefs, which also influence your food pattern, they are also ultimately shaped by geography and climate. Okay. Next one. With the birth of Islam, which offered almost the same egalitarian features. With the birth of Islam, which offered almost the same egalitarian features. With the birth of Islam, that offered almost the same egalitarian features already present in a tribal way of life, comma, Islam became an attractive religious option. And within no time, emerge as strong force of not just the socio-economic and cultural unity, a strong force of not just a socio-economic and cultural unity, but also the political unity. But also the political unity. Okay? Next. Hence, politically, first ever empire of the Middle East, known as Umayyad, first ever empire of the Middle East and North Africa, known as Umayyad, UMMIADD. Umayyad Empire emerged as an Islamic empire. Umayyad Empire emerged as an Islamic empire. Okay? Next. Its political head, known as Khalifa. Its political head, known as Khalifa, was also the religious and spiritual head of the Muslims all over the world. Was also the religious and spiritual head of the Muslims all over the world. Okay? Its political head. Its matlab, the so-called Islamic empire's political head, known as Khalifa. ठीक है? अभी दिल्ली सल्तनत में जो पॉलिटिकल हेड होगा उसको सुल्तान कहेंगे. मुगल के जो पॉलिटिकल हेड थे उनको बादशाह कहते थे. Like that. The so-called political head of this Islamic empire, known as Khalifa, was also the spiritual and religious head of the Muslims all over the world. Okay? And as such, had a political and military obligation. And as such, had a political and military obligation to not just spread the Islam throughout the world. To not just spread the Islam throughout the world, but also to protect it. But also to protect it. ठीक है? तो ये रूलर्स के ऊपर ऑब्लिगेशन भी हुआ करता था उस समय कि द सो कॉल्ड रिलीजन यू हैव टू स्प्रेड इन न्यू एरियाज एंड ऑल्सो टू प्रोटेक्ट इट. ओके, क्लियर? नेक्स्ट. Arab invasion of the Sindh occurred due to two main important objectives. Arab invasion of the Sindh occurred due to two main objectives. Okay. Next, first and the most important objective was the need of resources. First and the most important objective was the need of the resources. Okay. And secondary objective was the spread of newly born Islam. And the secondary objective was the spread of newly born Islam. ठीक है? Next. So these are two objectives. Next, however, main reason behind the Arab invasion was political instability and chaos in India? Was the political instability and chaos in India, along with military weaknesses of Indian rulers, along with military weaknesses of the Indian rulers. ठीक है, ये मेन रीजन था कि जिसकी वजह से उन्होंने डिसाइड किया सही मौका है चौका मार देते हैं. ओके, ये चीज है. करेक्ट. नेक्स्ट, next subheading about the invasion. Next subheading about the invasion. Invasion के बारे में. First, the invasion was led by a 17-year-old teenage sensation. क्या उम्र थी? 17. बन गया भारत के लिए खतरा. ठीक है. The invasion was led by a 17-year-old teenage sensation, Mohammed bin Qasim. मोहम्मद बिन कासिम. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, टाइम कासिम वासिम वासिम. ओके. एट अ टाइम नॉर्थ पार्ट ऑफ was ruled by western part of India was ruled by one Rajput Brahmin Shahi dynasty. One Rajput Brahmin Shahi dynasty. And the ruler was Raja Dahir. Next, he fought with Qasim bravely in a well contested battle, but was killed. Okay. Next subheading, impact, public consequences. Impact, public consequences. Okay. First, एक प्रोग्राम है बोल रहे आधे घंटे का ही ना.
नहीं अभी हो गया सर थोड़ा.
ठीक है, मैं हाँ कोई बात नहीं. तो मैं 5 मिनट में एक फिनिश करूँ मेरा.
ओके.
या तुरंत चाहिए तो मैं बंद कर देता, स्टॉप कर देता.
नहीं ठीक है 5 मिनट लीजिए.
5 ले लो, चलेगा.
प्रोग्राम इज 2:30.
ओके.
So it would be better to sooner finish tonight.
Okay, then I will stop here only. Right. Okay, for half an hour we will just have a break in the sense we will hold a class. Some program is there for half an hour, that means the event. Post event we can continue. लेकिन कंटिन्यू मतलब आप समझ लीजिए. हाँ, मैं क्लास के बाद बताता हूँ क्योंकि मैं टाइट रोप